What's up, gang? Hope you're doing well. This video is back to the film room, one of our favorite channels. I want to do some learning today, so I want to watch a couple videos and just get my learn on. Okay? I just want to learn some stuff. You guys can come along and learn with me. So what we're doing, this is every NBA team is running the same offense. I'm interested to see this because typically, I just had a conversation with one of my friends the other day. I really feel like the NBA right now, we're like 3-4 years behind, and colleges too, of what like they're running over in Europe. So we're starting to see a lot of trends that have been happening in Europe the last 3-4 years. And we kind of talked about this in our Duke breakdown. So it'd be interesting to see what he points out.
What's up?
But go like and subscribe to the Film Room. Great channel.
Everybody, thanks for coming back to the Film Room. In this video, we're going to break down what I believe is the new way forward for every NBA team as far as the system that they're running offensively. I've been watching the NBA for over a decade from a coach's perspective, and I have never seen a time where every NBA team is running the exact same offense.
Okay, really quickly, I will say, if this is just going to be like the 5-out motion stuff with 3-side, 2-side principles, this is what, I mean, Europe was doing 3-4 years ago, and this is what they brought in. This is what I started noticing as a trend. But honestly, I started noticing this first last year with the WNBA. The WNBA was doing this with the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty were the first two teams that I really saw doing it. And then this year in the WNBA, every team. So this setup looks very similar. So I wonder if this is what he's going to be talking about.
Now, there's a lot of sources that can be credited for why the NBA has shifted to this new way of playing, but the NBA is going away from one-on-one basketball to this conceptual lag-free offense. And what that means is there's some spacing principles and some offensive concepts that every team is using to keep the ball moving and make the defense guard multiple actions. So if you watch any of these 2025 preseason games that are going on right now, everybody is getting into this 5-out spacing.
Yeah, so we used to call this, again, we did this over in Australia when I was still playing. Man, when was the last year I played? 6 years ago, just before COVID was the last official year I played. We were using this. We called this trail. So they call it delay over here. We called it trail just because it's typically a trail big. Like when you're running down in transition, it's a trail. But they ran it from the post being under the basket. So delay, I mean, same thing, right? But then we had one where the post was down here and we could play through that with 4 guards out. And it was the same it was the same offense. It was just a different setup or a different start to it, as he was talking about with actions. We called that early. So we had trail and early, but delay, I believe, is what the Australian national team called it around the time. And that's where we got our offense from. And that's where in Australia got their offense from Europe. So this is very similar to what we've been seeing in the WNBA for the last 2 seasons. And this is very European, Eurocentric kind of play style.
That's often referred to as delay. And from this formation, you see a lot of cutting, a lot of off-ball screens, and a lot of...
So what you'll typically get is, and this is, again, where it's been going, and then hopefully I don't ruin his video by stopping it too much, but so you get a lot of two-man game, which is what they just did, pick and roll. That was a big-to-big pick and roll, so pretty tough to guard. And then you get this you get your 3-side. So what I was saying earlier, you got your 2-man game actions that you can do, dribble, handoff, pick and roll, ghost screens, that sort of stuff. And then you got your 3-man side, which typically the middle will sandwich cut, and you get into another 2-man game, or you can have some different actions out of this. Clay can lift up to the middle. We can get like a splits action and play out of that, and then he can cut, and then we can go 2-man game. I know that was a lot of drawing and stuff, but let's see if that's where he's going.
Dribble, handoffs, and ball screens from the 5-man. And the key to these alignments all come down to personnel. So what you typically see is the dead corners will be occupied.
They're in trail again too. They're in trail. Delay. My bad.
Guys who can catch and shoot threes. The wings are going to be your playmakers.
And from this, so he's kind of touching on it again. I'm sorry for stopping it so much, but this is why I watch Film Room, because they've already done the hard work and I don't have to do it. The reason that is that my okay? Couldn't tell if that was my green screen. What the NBA has been going to, and we saw this with Indiana and OKC last year, is defensively, if you can switch everything, it allows you to defend a lot of these actions with just a switch. The problem is, obviously, you get a lot of mismatches, but that's why a lot of teams have been going to these lineups that that's why there's not really, you don't get too many point guards nowadays, small point guards, because most of defensive coverages are going to be switching. So if you're going to be a small guard, you got to be like, there's got to be a reason you're out there. So you're either a dog on defense and you can guard multiple positions, so like a Drew Holiday, or you're a monster on the offensive end and you're scoring 40 points a game. So Trae Young, Steph Curry, people like that. Or you find ways to hide off the ball and pre-switch, which is what the Warriors do with Steph quite a bit. So yeah, it'll be really interesting. Now offensively, they've been getting to where they can run multiple positions too. So as we just saw, it was Anthony Davis and Powell. They did a pick and roll. So it was a big to big pick and roll. And we saw this with Duke also. Duke goes to Boozer, and I can't remember the other kid's name. I don't think it was Sarr. It might have been Sarr, but it was big to big pick and roll. So that seems to be the next evolution of this motion offense, is big to big actions rather than having the big always initiating the action, like what Jokic was like the first one to really start doing this individually. Now teams have been copying that because they saw the success of Jokic. And now having the big get screens, which we also see that with the Nuggets. We see Jamal Murray setting screens for Jokic. So anyways, all that to say, he's exactly right. This is very personnel based, but we have seen this growing and improving and evolving over the last 3-4 years. But they've had this in Europe already. And this is the part that frustrates me, is like, NBA, why are we not just literally go over there and just copy exactly what they're doing? You don't got to wait 4 years.
And your guards, and then the guy at the top is going to be your 5-man, and everything is going to revolve around him. Now, if you've been watching the NBA or college basketball for the last couple years, you've probably noticed that everybody is running this concept referred to as zoom, which is a 3-man action on the side with 2 guys spaced opposite. I did an entire breakdown of this action, so if you want...
Zoom. So Zoom for us was this dribble handoff. I understand what he's saying. It's the same concept. We just called this splits. We just called it splits action because you can go splits into just the pass or split straight into your dribble handoff or whatever. So it is a splits action, but as I guess for a 3-man action, he calls it zoom. So we'll try to remember that.
Watch it. I posted that video right here in the corner. But the biggest evolution to offense this year that I'm seeing with every team is they're getting away from running things on the side. And now this 3-man game is all happening.
Yeah, this is that off-ball Spain pick and roll stuff we've been noticing in EuroLeague for a couple years. Honestly, the first team I saw do this was Serbia. The Serbian national team, maybe 3 years ago, when I was like, that off-ball. So it's like the principles of a Spain pick and roll, but they don't necessarily always run it with the ball handler. Sometimes they get these 3 guys involved in it.
Inside of the lane line extended, right here in the middle third of the court. So as you watch these concepts, what you're going to see is everything is being done in the first 8 to 10 seconds of the possession, with the 3 guys above the free throw line and the 2 guys in the corner are just spaced for...
It looks gross in the NBA, doesn't it? Just because the spacing, like the defensive rules and the size of the court. This is what it looks like whenever I'm coaching kids. This is how spaced out and open it looks because defense doesn't really know what to do. I hate watching the NBA. I hate it.
Opportunities or cuts. And the reason I think this is important for you to understand is because if you're a coach or a player, you might want to use these concepts in your offense. But if you're just a fan,
again, so I wonder what this is actually called, because the only thing I've been calling it the last 3 years I just still call it Spain pick and roll. Because, for example, if someone goes and sets a down screen, the offensive player getting the screen can curl, they can pop, they can back cut and reject it, they can rescreen. They've got 4 options they can do, but it's still just called a down screen, right? This for me is a Spain pick and roll. So usually the guard would start down here. I'll try to draw this. Typically Spain pick and roll is like a guard here, big here. So it's like a ball screen, back screen, right? For the big, and the big would roll. The guard would be someone else. But basically Spain pick and roll is just a ball screen into a back screen. So I've been calling this action that they're doing here like an inverted Spain pick and roll, because it's the back. It's like a back screen into a ball screen. But you can do so many different actions off of that. Just like I was saying with the down screen, there's 3 or 4 or 5 different things you can do. So does anyone know what this is called? Maybe he'll say it.
Now know what to look for when you're watching basketball, because like I said, everybody is running.
And this is why actions are more important than running it as a play. because instead of having a set thing to do, you just read the defense and how they guard it.
And if you're wondering how this relates to the gap theory, let me show you. Because these quick actions are always going to do one of two things. Either make two people guard one, and now you have this advantage on the backside of one defender trying to guard two, like you see right here. And the other thing that they really capitalize, especially in the NBA with all of these specialist players, is it forces early switches, which creates mismatches. So that early step up created two switches, and now you have a speed mismatch with the ball handler, and you have a size mismatch on somebody who cut. The speed mismatch allows him to drive and force help, which leads to this open three, and the size mismatch is the reason why he got the offensive rebound and was able to finish it. Now
and this is Indiana Pacers' specialty.
One way that all of these teams are getting into their early action is with what's referred to as away.
We run this with our high school team. And we call it the same thing.
All that means is that
the big goes and sets an away screen.
Who's trailing the play is going to set a screen away
and we like this because it opens up so much space for the drive here, but also it gets like, if this is your best player, your best scorer, it gives them an advantage rather than them dribbling up the floor and having to create an advantage. Hopefully they get to start with an advantage depending how they guard this.
Top guard who's opposite, and from there there's a ton of different things that they can get into, and I'm going to show you several of these actions so you know what to look for. One of the more common things that people are doing off of that away screen is the guard is cutting over.
Oh, we just saw that. He calls this 77. Nice. We just called this or we didn't call it in. I'm one thing you'll never learn from me over here is what actions are called. I can see them. I just don't know what they're called, because wherever you play, they're going to be called something different. As you just saw 3 or 4 actions in this video that I called something different. But this away screen, and then directly into, they were using a ghost screen when we were watching one of the EuroLeague teams we were watching and breaking down the other day. It was an off-ball screen into a ghost screen, and it was just like, man, having to defend that before you ever get into like your half-court set, before you ever have to get into actually setting up your defense, it's tough. It's so tough to do, and a lot of people don't realize how tough it is to guard.
For the top, and then they're getting into what's referred to as 77, which is just a double drag ball screen.
Oh, 77 is the double drag ball screen. It's funny. He's like, 77 is a double drag ball screen. Why is it not called a double drag ball screen?
Now, throughout this video, I'm going to show you multiple examples of teams running the same action, because I want to hammer home that everybody is doing this. It's not just one team. And I think it's fun to see which teams already have chemistry and are doing this really well, and which teams are struggling to make proper reads and have success. Now, a subtle wrinkle in this 77 is instead of the guard coming off the away screen and setting a ball screen, he will slip out or ghost to try and create confusion on that first screen, and then you have the second ball screen that's designed to create this double gap for the guard to be able to attack and create something. I don't think the Warriors did a great job here settling for the three, but
so just really quickly, just to give some player perspective on this. So as a player, I, for whatever reason, maybe because I used to play a lot of NBA like basketball games and college basketball games, and I started understanding court mapping and just recognizing switches and angles and things like that. And believe it or not, it's a good way for people to learn this sort of stuff. Once this would happen in a live scenario, my brain felt like I could adjust really quickly. Like switching to this, you got to get over, you got to fight through. I could recognize it really quickly on the court. One thing I recognized once I played overseas, because in college you just learn what, high school you know what your coach knows. College, you know what your coach knows. Once I went overseas, I realized like, wait, I know more than most of my coaches, most of my teammates. Like they can't see everything that's happening on the court at the same time. So one thing I started recognizing now when I watch other teams, and this is what I realize about the NBA rather than EuroLeague, they seem to, even though teams are still scoring, defensively, they seem to know what they want to do. And they're trying to accomplish a goal. They're like, oh, you go there, you go there, you go there. And the offense just out executes at some point or hits a tough shot. When I watch the NBA, there's very few teams from top to bottom, like all 5 players on the court at the same time, that seem to all be on the same page. Again, OKC Thunder, Indiana Pacers last year was amazing to watch, but it just baffles me that why is our whole league not like that? Why can our whole league not understand these are supposed to be the best players in the world? Shouldn't it also be the best coaching in the world? Shouldn't it also be the best development in the world? Shouldn't we also have all of that too? It just baffles me. We just have the best players. That's what the NBA is. It's just the best players. So watching these plays is really funny. Watching, like, I guarantee you there's 3 or 4 guys on each team right now that are kind of just like, I don't know what to do. We're supposed to run 77, so just run 77, but not realizing, well, on 77, you can slip out and go screen. You don't have to fully set the screen. You can backdoor on that as the big, because your player thinks you're going to go set a screen, so he's up there early, so you can backdoor and get the lob. There's so many options and things you can do to counter, but so many players, I'd say, especially in America, 80% of the players you coach can't grasp these types of concepts, and it's really frustrating to me. So these types of videos are really good, and they're the point that I don't think he gets to, and I don't know if he sees this, is how many, and maybe he does, but just how many players just don't understand the concept. Like, if all of these players would go watch this film room video, they'd probably increase their IQ, basketball IQ, tenfold.
Again, that's why it's fun to watch multiple teams running the same action, because you can see who's getting wide open shots.
Like, even this, being that it's an NBA team, best athletes in the world, best players in the world.
Multiple teams
when I'm watching this,
action, because you can see,
like, just the pace that this is. The reason these are hard to guard is because this player, like, these 2 guys on defense, they already know there's this action they're going to have to defend. So it only really works if you've got one-on-one right here. You've got one-on-one. You should be putting pressure here to keep this defender engaged, to get this help side engaged, to get this gap defender engaged. You should be putting pressure. You should be putting pressure here, so that when this away screen happens, now this defender is arriving late.
Who's getting wide?
But instead, like, oh, I'll just look at the play, because the play is away screen into a double drag. So I'll just look at the play. But in the NBA, I would expect 1 through 15 can occupy here and boom, go weak side, right? Like, I would assume he could do that, but right now it's like, let's just run the play. Anyway, sorry for going on all these tangents.
Wide open shots and good looks off of it versus teams that are struggling to get good shots or potentially turning it over. You also get to see the creativity of some of these coaches. So here the Warriors are going to set up in the exact same away action, but it turns into hitting the 5, and then they loop into a zoom for Buddy, who came off of the first screen. And all of these possessions are just the same concepts being mixed and matched together.
And you can see it, right? The higher IQ players you have that can run multiple different of these actions, the better. One thing that I'm interested to see is how LeBron and Luka do, because this requires a lot of movement, a lot of passing the ball and getting other people involved. That's just hasn't been Luka's style of offense lately. So I'm interested to see how they incorporate this with Luka, or is it going to be typically mainly a second, like what they do with the second unit?
Now, another popular trigger to start
and LeBron
offense
as well,
is where you set the away screen, and now as the guard goes over the top, the point guard throws it to them, and then they're going to receive it back off of what's referred to as a touch action. And watch what happens. They end up getting a switch with the 5, so now you have a speed mismatch here and a size mismatch down here, and the offense recognizes it. The guard backs up to take advantage. This forces the defense to do what's referred to as full rotating, where they try and get the ball out of the guard's hands.
Man, Indiana was so good at this last year too. And I keep bringing them up. They were just the only real examples last year. OKC would do this. They did this to the Nuggets a ton.
And because he saw this coming, he skips the ball to the dead corner, which leads to a catch and shoot 3. So
lie with your eyes.
You're watching
Great
these
pass.
clips, that you're paying attention to how quickly these teams are identifying switches to create mismatches, or they are getting 2 people to the ball and then trying to find the open player for rhythm catch and shoot 3s or drives off of bad closeouts.
So this is why everyone thinks defense is so bad in the NBA, is just because, like, look how quickly they get a switch. Like, the offense just has all the advantage all the time. It's just, I hate it. I wish it was the same rules as like EuroLeague, because then you'd see a lot more defensive, like you'd see the defense has a chance. Right now the defense just doesn't really have a chance. They're fighting tooth and nail.
Now the third concept you'll see a lot off of this away screen is where the guard who's coming off of it will catch it, and then the 5-man is going to flip right back around and do what's referred to as twisting, or 5-man is...
So I wasn't really paying attention. So away screen, into a rescreen.
Flip right back around and do what's referred to as twisting, or flipping into a step-up screen right off of the down screen, and then the ball handler makes his read based off of the coverage of the X5. This is really common for teams who have a good shooting guard that they want to get involved in ball screens, or if they have a really good shooter, this is an opportunity for him to come off of that ball screen and get an open three.
They're going to be fun to watch this year, Clippers.
Now, something that defenses will do to try and take an offense out of their rhythm of getting into all of these actions is they will try and blow up that away screen so that they can't get into their stuff.
So this now that they're engaged, look, like what's he supposed to be doing? That's not Nurkic, is it? Is that Nurkic playing for the Jazz? I got to keep up with the trades. But look, they're so engaged with this off-ball action. That's why I was saying, like, this is where you got to be able to play one-on-one, get downhill, create some havoc. So the really good play, again, this is Tyrese Halliburton recognizes this. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander recognizes this, and that's where it's like impossible to guard because you have to arrive on the catch or before the catch to defend this. Same thing here. You got to be involved on this screen. Now this guy's just on a complete island. Come on, guys, make defense great again.
Automatically
give us a chance.
A cut through the paint, and now the big will turn and get into a ball screen. And again, you get this double gap for a guard to attack downhill and read the ball screen coverage. And because all of these actions are conceptual, the offense isn't running plays. They're just reacting to whatever the defense gives them. So as soon as the defense takes something away, you just go to the next concept. Here's an example of something that JJ Redick put into the Lakers offense when they take away that away screen. Bronny's going to reject the away screen and cut into the paint. Then they're going to throw it to their 5-man, and then they get into what's referred to as a gut zoom action.
Gut zoom action. I've not heard that.
So it's a zoom when you have a down screen into a DHO, but it's happening right in the middle of the court.
So we saw this actually with the Warriors. Remember, that would be Steph over here, was in the middle. So really, this is interesting because instead of it being a 3-man game, it's their 3-man game from the middle of the floor, and everyone's just leaving their shooters in the corners on these actions. It's interesting. So it is a slight variation to what you would typically see with the motion offenses of that would be your third guy is usually here. So this would be the third. Hold on. Let me rewind this just a bit so we can see. So right here, this would typically be your 3-man game. So you got top of the key, you got here and here. So typically that splits action now would be happening over here, right? 2-man game, or he can come all the way off that dribble handoff. Meanwhile, the big might be dribbling to the basket into that handoff, or might just be dribbling over, and then as this player comes up, we pass it, set a ball screen, and go. So typically your 3 players that have been involved have been these 3. So it's interesting how all of these plays have just kept it with exactly what he said earlier, the middle 3 of the court. And these guys, you just SOL, buddy, out of luck. You just got to sit in the corner. So now he's cut through here, and it's just another rescreen. Interesting. Okay. We're getting some learning in today. I like this.
Referred to as a gut zoom action. So it's a zoom when you have a down screen into a DHO, but it's happening right in the middle of the court. I would have loved to see Bronny come off of that.
Yeah, Jackson Hayes straight into another ball screen. And this is what I mean. This is where personnel really matters. Look how slow he is to react that needs to be a ball screen.
But it's happening right in the middle.
Because if you're playing with Luka, you can probably just pass the ball and get away. But if I'm playing with, like, you look at all the guys that are on this court right now. If that's Jackson Hayes, every time I pass the ball, I'm setting a ball screen. Every single time. Look, let's just get the advantage every time.
Of the court, I would have loved to.
Like, that should be straight into a ball screen here, and then Bronny can play.
See Bronny come off of that dribble handoff and make a play rather than fading, but they eventually get into the ball screen, which creates the skip pass, the bad closeout, and the bucket. Now, the last thing that you'll see quite often in this alignment is they'll throw it straight to the 5 instead of an away screen, and they'll cut over the top of him, and that creates...
Yeah, we just called this gets.
a lot of three-man actions that you can run. Here they're going to get into a zoom.
We've got this with our high school team as well.
And because of that screen and the handoff, it frees up the guard to get that mid-range jump shot. Now, the reason I like this option is because those two guys in the corner create all.
Now imagine this trail spot is LeBron. So you've got to worry about that one-on-one too. Anthony Davis trail spot. Jokic trail spot.
This space in the paint, and so now is
Şengün trail spot.
Cut over the
with Kevin Durant being this guy. Or you know what? Screw it. He's old. Kevin Durant, corner guy. You just stand here. If Gary Payton digs in, you get an open corner three. Screw it.
If the defender tries to chase over the top with them, you can do what's referred to as a zero cut, which just means you cut over the top and go straight to the bucket. And this is something that's very effective and creates a lot of open layups.
Zero cut. Nice. So yeah, when I see this, tell me what you guys see, what your brains do when you see this sort of stuff. Because when I see this, it feels like I'm just like, just play, just flow, just go with the flow. Whatever happens, happens. And this is the pace like you need to play at. Most people watching the games don't see. They can't recognize the pattern out of this, but then they can't recognize the quick options and spacing that you would have off of this too. So is it a learned thing, or is it something that's kind of innate that you build up playing multiple sports? And like I said, for me, it was playing different types of video games, understanding pattern recognition, 50-50s, like counters, things like that, the fighting games, all that sort of stuff. I think that's what helped me. So let me know, what are your thoughts when you guys see all this happening? To me, it just makes sense.
Now let's take a look at what offenses do when they change their personnel of who ends up.
And the reason I'm asking that is because I'd say 80% of the people I've played with or coached with, they just can't see those things. So when I teach, that's why I always break things down to the very basic bare minimum level. And everyone's like, you're such a good teacher. And it's like, well, no, I've just recognized most people don't see it. They don't see the finished product. And that's where skills trainers come in at the top, at the finished product. And it's like, oh, let's do this, this, this. I think there's just so much more. Let's just break it down to the bare minimum.
Being where. Here you have the 5-man playing the wing position, and you have a guard at the top of the key. So the point guard will skip it over the top to the 5-man.
Rifle? Is this that rifle action?
And then the wing is going to set a screen, and the guard will chase.
Yeah, this one's... Who does this? UConn? Men's team does this? They got it from a EuroLeague team as well. I can't remember the team. Paris.
Now you get into that same 77 look, or you can look at it.
But they do it. They try to get their big down here, and then they try to start it from here and get that cross-court pass to the big, and then they do the same action off of.
As a zoom action because it's a down screen into a dribble hand.
It's just the spacing. I think that's why. The spacing on the NBA court is different.
That quickly forces the defense to switch, and now you have to pay attention to mismatches. They don't have much of a speed.
Imagine offensively, you're like, Coach, what position do you want me to play? And he's like, go stand in the corner. Yeah, but it's a 3 or the 4? He's like, let's go stand in the corner. Yeah, but like, what play do you want? What are we running? Oh, you don't need to worry about that. Just go stand in the corner.
Mismatch here, but they absolutely have a size mismatch right here. So the guard pulls it out, swings it to the mismatch that they like, and notice how Anderson is going to go right at the smaller defender. He just happens to miss the layup.
Wait, that was back to the...
Another action that's very popular when you get the 5-man over here is instead of running a zoom for the guard to come off of the dribble handoff, the defense is vulnerable to slips to the basket. So here as they set that away screen, as soon as he gets that leverage, he slips to the basket, and you can...
Again, it's just, this is why I say it's just splits, right? Once you understand how to run splits, one to the basket, one to the ball, he could have curled that to the basket and he could pop out. There's so many different things you could do, right? So once you understand the concept of it, then when you put it into another play or another setup, it should just make sense and it should just flow together.
See how Love recognized he missed that wide open cutter and probably should have thrown it to him. The other thing that teams will add into the beginning of these actions is a dribble handoff. So you have the big on the wing, you have a guard up top, and you're...
This is that fake action we were talking about the other day, just to make them have to deal with it, and then we can get into our second side. This is what Duke...
The DHO on this top side. then the offense is going
Duke was just doing the first side action, and they were never getting into their second side action.
to run a flare for the shooter, and because the defense tries to chase it, that forces the big to help. Now you have two people guarding one, which leads to the rhythm catch and shoot three. And here's one more action from the same game out of the same alignment. The Houston Rockets get into a dribble handoff for KD on the wing, and because they have this alignment at the top, it flows right into a 77 or a double drag. When KD comes off, he gets the late switch from the big and tries to shoot the mid-range jumper from 15 feet. Now,
We've been watching him all summer. Like, how do you guard that?
Very popular trigger to get into this three-man game at the top is what's referred to as stack. The
Oh, one of you in the comments was telling me that's what this is called.
guard and the five-man stack up near the free
When we were watching one of the EuroLeague games, because you can do multiple things out of this too. I like this.
line, and now the guard can come off of a down screen either direction, and as soon as he does, they
I just called it an Iverson cut, right?
can run a ton of different stuff. So here you're going to get what looks like a step-up ball screen, but it's actually what's referred to as veer. So the five-man is going to fake that step-up and then go set a...
So again, this is, I almost feel like this is almost like how skill trainers, I just go, hey, onside step or crossover step. That's the only two ways you can move. But then they're like, yeah, but no, you need to do a negative step, dig step, onside step, hammer step, anchor step. And I'm like, whoa, that's a lot of stuff. If you can understand, let's watch it. And he's not wrong. But this is what I think we get bogged down in the vocabulary, and most players will never understand this stuff. So I was the player that would always go learn, that's not a ghost screen, that's a veer screen. And it's like, well, what's the difference between a veer and a ghost? Well, the veer, it's the big is setting it, and you're going to the corner, and then he's ghosting it to go set the away screen. And it's like, if you understand the concept of a ghost screen, it doesn't matter if it's a veer, if it's on an off ball, if it's an off ball action, doesn't matter what it, and you're slipping, they're all the same. If you can slip, if you understand the concept of a ghost, like it's this, you can run a veer, right? So this is where people get lost. So I used to go learn all the different vocabulary of everything. Then I started realizing like most people will just never get to that point, but also it's more so the concept matters more than anything. So if you understand how to play a ball screen here, and if that's Nurkic, hopefully that's Nurkic, because I've been calling him that this whole game. Offensively, here, if Nurkic sets the screen, well, now we've got the switch here, right? We've got Şengün guarding here. He can slip to the basket. But because he decides to go straight into an away screen and we didn't get contact, this offensive player needs to recognize like, oh, they didn't switch. I'm not open. Keep my dribble alive and watch for the next action. Now this just becomes, what do we call it earlier, class? It's just splits action. Yes, it's an away screen. Yes, we can call it whatever he wants to call it here, back into the 77 action or whatever. But to me, I'm like, this is just splits action now. It's two-man game. So one to the basket, one to the ball. So if the defense fights over, the guard should curl, cut to the basket, and then we get the big can pop back, or he can pop into an on-ball. He shouldn't pick up the ball here, by the way. Don't pick up the ball until you see your pass. Or if he fought over, you could back cut, and the post could drop back to the ball, or he can just jump up and catch it, and we can do that touch action that he was just talking about. There's so many actions and things you can do, but I think the way to try and understand basketball, for those of you that feel like this is too much, just think about the simple concept that they're doing. You can do this from anywhere on the court, two-man game. Like, yes, it can be a pin down screen, but if you understand splits action, it's a pin down screen, it's an up screen, it's a one to the basket, one to the ball. Like, you can simplify the game so much. Let's see what they actually do here. So he hits him, goes to the basket like we were talking about. He curls that, and now you get your the switch, chance for a rebound because the big had to step up and help guard that. Beautiful. This is such a good video.
Stack is the player who comes off of the down screen is then going to receive a ball screen, and the goal is to create an early advantage that they can manipulate that leads to a high quality shot.
Ooh, jeez. I didn't see that play. Man, this is just beautiful though, when teams just start making these reads. This is beautiful. That's pretty much it. If you guys want to go watch the rest, there's like a minute and a half left, but I think we've seen enough. I've definitely seen enough. This is so good. This is such a good video. Like I said, go like and subscribe to Film Room. We need to start pushing these videos a little bit more, because this is what's actually going to raise the IQ over here in America, and it's gonna help coaches, especially like high school level coaches. These concepts, once you understand these, it's so easy to start teaching your players. And again, imagine this. You've got, when you're practicing now, this is fun for players to practice. Hey, we're just going to run a stack. We're going to run a stack action. Everyone has to play every spot and learn every spot, because everyone is going to have to play every spot in a game, but it's also just fun. Go 3 possessions. So you got defense here, defense here, defense here. You got 3 possessions in a row, and then we rotate. Now the offense goes defense, defense goes offense. So you could have 6 players down here, 6 players down on the other end, put 10 minutes on the clock and just go, all right, go. Just let them play. Let them get a lot of actions, a lot of reads in. And then if you see the same mistake happening over and over and over, you can stop it and be like, all right, make sure we're setting our screens properly, or make sure we're coming off, whatever. But you can practice that stuff. You don't even need the corner guys. But you can get 6 players getting the ball in their hands, running lots of pick and rolls, lots of dribble handoffs, lots of closeouts. You get them so many opportunities in 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, right? So that's something really fun for high school, and that's how we need to be teaching the game a little bit more, because that's the way, that's the direction basketball is going. But it's also teaching you, like, once you get into a pick and roll on the side, well, you've already practiced all these principles so many times in a 3-on-3 setting, right? So it's still the same principles over here. You can do that same stuff with your off-ball stuff, but I was just trying to use this play as a specific example. This was an excellent video. I loved it. I learned something today. If you guys learned something, let me know down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.